Thank you, Harish. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hariom, for organizing this, and especially the Taurus Foundation, who is organizing this event. It's a great initiative you guys have taken up. It's nice to see a great knowledge sharing session which you guys are doing, bringing in experts and trying to share knowledge, and ideally Indian knowledge, I would say, Indian wisdom with students, and I would more focus towards engineering students or students who are in the college, and faculties obviously who also join in. So great initiative by all of you. So I first of all would like to congratulate and really appreciate the kind of work you guys are doing, and the effort which has been put in is really remarkable. So thank you and congratulations. What I'm here for and what you guys have been looking for. So some sutras from Kautilya Arthashastra and Chanakya Sutra is what we are looking for. Some powerful sutras, as has been mentioned. What I'm going to do today is give you a little bit of background, because my area of expertise, my area of studies over the last 8-10 years has been on Kautilya Arthashastra, Chanakya's writing. So I'm going to take you through a little background of what is this Kautilya Arthashastra that we talk of. Who is this man Chanakya, and also give a little brief into some of the sutras. At least we'll try and take up 3-4 sutras, some powerful sutras, as mentioned, and then see how we can use this in our present day contextual reference. Because it's very important that knowledge which you get should be utilized. Otherwise, as Chanakya says, knowledge acquired but not used becomes poison, right? And how is knowledge acquired? Knowledge is acquired in 3 different manners. What he says, he talks of. What is knowledge? It is called panya. This is more of Pali language which I'm using here. So Chanakya talks of 3 kinds of knowledge, 3 ways of acquiring knowledge. First one he says is sutamaya panya. What you guys are doing right now is sutamaya panya. When he says sutamaya, means basically discussing. Sutamaya means basically reading, listening. Anything that is one-way communication. Your teacher teaches you in the class, you read something from a book, or in today's time I would say you watch something on YouTube, or you watch something on one of the knowledge platforms which is there. So that's one way of you getting information and knowledge. So that is called Sutamaya Panya. Second thing which Chanakya talks of is basically Chintamaya Panya. Chinta se word Chintamaya Panya comes in the word Chintan. And Chintan is more of discussion. So we sit and talk and discuss. We all meet as friends, we meet as professionals, we meet as co-students, co-workers, colleagues, family. We all meet and we discuss something. Kya ho raha hai life? What's up? What's new? And we all share our opinions and our point of view on a lot of things. India is very well known for that, right? We are a gossiping society, and probably as Dr. Amartya Sen said, we are an argumentative society as well. We all talk, we discuss, we all have an opinion to make about things. It's a very good thing in itself, because this is what brings out knowledge. Second thing is discussing, talking with people, group discussions that you do. So Chintamaya Panya, and then finally, third one which we talk of is Bhavanamaya, so experiencing, doing it yourself and learning it. As students, you might all be going for internship, industrial trainings, on-job trainings which you guys must be doing. That's where you learn practically what you have studied in your college, right? So that's very important part of learning which is there. What I'm going to do with all of you today is I'm going to share a few details of what Chanakya was all about and what Kautilya Arthashastra is all about. So I'm just going to share my screen so all of you can see certain slides which I have to present to all of you. And let me just come on to the slide. So yes, Chanakya Aanvikshiki Private Limited, that's the name of our company where we operate from. That's the entity which we have made, through which we are trying to research, work upon Kautilya Arthashastra, Chanakya Niti, Praniti Sutra. These are all writings of Chanakya Kautilya. And we are trying to bring it in present day relevance, that this Indian wisdom, the knowledge which we have, how do we make it relevant and how do we use it in our present day context. Chanakya chal raha hai, to kaun hai ye? Who is this person whom we are talking of? So history tells us he was someone who was born in around 3rd century, 4th century BC. You can say 320 se leke 345 BC ke beech mein somewhere is a time period when Chanakya actually lived. He actually happened at that point of time. And when we say lived, we have evidence. You know, it's something which has real physical evidences available, where we can prove that Chanakya actually as a person was there. It's not a fictitious character or some mythological thing that aisa ho sakta hai koi aadmi tha or something. The man actually lived. We have evidences, and then we can prove it that the person was there. In fact, in Kautilya Arthashastra, when we read in the final book, book number 15, I'll come on to this, what these books are. But in book number 15, which Chanakya writes, he signs it. There is an autograph where he says, I, Kautilya, the person who was responsible for defeating Dhananand and making Chandragupta Maurya, the king, is writing this treatise, and I'm writing it in Bhashya, which is basically called explanation. The 6,000 sutras. Vishnugupt was his first name. I would say probably the given name which was there. His birth certificate, Aadhaar card, PAN card, school living certificate, all that would have this name which is called Vishnugupta, as his schoolmates call him. Second name comes in is Kautilya, which is more of the scholarly name. Kautilya's Arthashastra. When he wrote that Arthashastra treatise, the name came Hindu way of culture, Arthashastra, which is there. The word Kutila, Kutaniti, also probably is said that in our culture has been described from this word Kautilya, because it's about strategic thinking, right? Chanakya is always thinking, oh, strategic thinker hai, someone who is using his mind to do a lot of things which is there. So that strategic thinker Kautilya name comes in from there. And the third name, Chanakya, obviously a name which is a claim to fame name which is there, Chanakaputra Chanakya. Chanakya is his father's name. His father himself was a acharya. When I say acharya, he was a principal of political science in those days. In fact, he was the one who was the first one to raise his voice against the evil king Dhananand at that point of time. And then obviously he was arrested and probably killed in the jail. And that's when Chanakya decides that I'm going to take this. I will make sure that this king comes to task. So that is where it comes from. So Chanakya is a third claim to fame name. Why I put this slide here is, in my presentation when I'm talking with all of you today, I might subconsciously, unconsciously use either of the three names. So Kautilya ne aisa bola hai, Chanakya ne bola hai, Vishnugupta ne bola hai. Same person whom we are talking of, who will be, who's writing works which we are talking of in this particular slides. Going ahead, few things about this man, and as you said, one of the greatest greatest man. Yes, obviously, not tying his shikha. So Brahmins have shikha, the ponytail, the choti, which we call a Brahmin ki. So Chanakya took this vow that I will not tie my shikha, I will not tie my pony till the time I don't bring down Dhananand from the throne, right? And it's a very interesting thing which we have to see here. We have to learn from this particular act of his. In our culture, we have this thing of tying up our goals with an activity. And when I'm saying tying up our goal with activity is something like, for example, if I like to drink tea a lot, all right, and I have my exams coming up, or I have certain tasks to achieve in life, I will take up a vow saying that मेरा जब तक ये काम नहीं मैं खत्म करता हूँ तब तक मैं चाय नहीं पीऊंगा. Right? Or if I like sweets, I'll say I will not eat sweets till the time this and this is not achieved, or this and this is not done. We tie our goals to something which we like to do. And why do we do that? Because every day when you feel like doing that particular thing, and in Chanakya's case, probably, I'm sure every day he takes a bath and then he has his hair to dry and then probably tie his shikha. That's when he remembers, oh, I don't have to tie my shikha. Why? Because there is a goal which I have in life which I have to achieve. So every day continuously reminding yourself of the promise, the goal which you have taken yourself to achieve. That's why we take this vow. You see, wow, pratigna bolte hai. You have to take that pratigna in life, that main ye karunga, and tie it up with something so that you get constantly reminded about that. Moving on, if we look at next, obviously he was the kingmaker of Chandragupta Maurya. So he not only defeated someone, but he also installed the right king in place. Now understand why I say this very specifically here is these are two different sciences in itself. Fighting a war, winning a war, bringing down a king is one kind of an art. At the same time, running a kingdom or governing a kingdom is a different kind of an art in itself. If I have to put it in present day context, manufacturing, running a factory, producing something is one kind of an art, and then doing sales, going and acquiring market, going and making your product more relevant in the market, going and acquiring those numbers, selling them, doing the turnover is a different kind of an art in itself. So you understand there are two different ball games which needs to be, and what the leader needs to be an expert in both. So company kaise chalani is also important, and going and doing sales and how do we go out and acquire market is also important to learn. So these two things, remember, are two sides of the same coin which a leader needs to learn. Third thing, thing I love the most to talk about is he was responsible for defeat of Alexander in India. Now, we all been taught and we all have been brought up in the education system where there was a lot of influence from the West which was there. And that is one of the reasons why most of us would not just call Alexander, we will say Alexander the Great. And that's how West taught us, right? Obviously, he was great because he was a warrior. He was a king who was out to win the world and started from East. So he came from Babylon, in today's time, I would say Greece. He started from Greece in those days, came up, covered the whole area, which is, I would say, more of Israel there, and then goes down into Egypt, goes again back and acquires a region which is Syria in today's time, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, and he almost reaches Pakistan. Right? And that's when he is faced with the Indian army, the army which was put together, the Bharatiya army which was put together by Chanakya at that point of time. So 16 different small kingdoms. So India was also not the way it is in today's form. India had different small kingdoms all around, which we also know that before independence or before the Britishers came in, that was the story. 560 odd kingdoms, royalties which were there. Sardar Patel was responsible for bringing all of this together and making it into one country, right? So Chanakya, in fact, was the first one in this particular continent, I would say Jambu Dweep, as it is called, you know, the one which is in the name of a Jamun, the Jambu Dweep, which is there, Bharat, which we talk of. This Chanakya was the one first time came up and then got all these people together. So the unity was created by Chanakya, and then the unity helped in defeating Alexander, who was a great warrior coming from the West, acquiring East. Everyone was scared of him because he was winning and going ahead. But then Chanakya made sure that there is an army which is standing there, a huge army which he probably had to surrender to and then return back to his motherland. So Chanakya was the person who was responsible for defeat of Alexander in India. Here we also learned that Chanakya developed two concepts and which we use very regularly in our today's time. It's called Rashtra and Rajya. Right? So Rashtra is what? Rashtra is federal. So India, Bharat, Rashtra. Right? We talk of federal where all states have come together. We in fact don't even call ourselves federal, we call ourselves union of states. India is a union of states. So all the states coming together and forming a Rashtra, and the state by itself is Rajya. So Rajya and Rashtra, this concept was given by Kautilya in that point of time. In fact, when we study Arthashastra, he defines this Ghana Rajyas, it's smaller Rajyas and self-governing Rajyas, or basically democratic Rajyas. This has all been discussed in Kautilya Arthashastra, which he talks of. I'm not getting into that. This is not a political science class somewhere, but then in general, I'm giving you that background. Another thing known great about Chanakya is he was the one who was responsible for training Ashoka. Now, Ashoka was the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya's son was Bindusara. Bindusara's son was Ashoka. And Ashoka was basically taught or trained. There is a serial which is there called Ashoka. I'm not remembering which TV channel it used to come. I think it was Imagine or some of the other one, but where they show how Ashoka was brought up, how he was trained, what Chanakya's role was in that. An amazing serial. I would advise all of you to watch that serial to get insights of what India was actually. How did Ashoka, and Ashoka is also known as India's first global emperor. Why global emperor? And when I say global emperor, we mean someone who ruled the whole world. I would say no, he did not rule the whole world. A global emperor is someone who has influence across the world. Now, in today's time, we as India have influence across the world in few things. Number one, let's say yoga. 21st of June, everyone around in the world does yoga, whether it is Times Square in New York, or whether it is Sydney, or whether it is Tokyo, or whether it is London. Everywhere, people are doing yoga at least on International Yoga Day. That's a softer power which we have developed. Say, for example, another thing where India has had its global influence is vaccine. Right, today we have become the pharmacy of the world. India gave vaccines in times of COVID to so many countries, and we were able to fight pandemic to an extent because of the vaccine diplomacy which we had. So that's the softer power which Chanakya talks of, and that's when we create a global influence. So Ashoka was the first Indian global influential leader, also global emperor, when we use the word as an emperor there. How he did it? Obviously, he had his tools or weapons, I would say, for the softer power which he used in that time, and this was through Buddhism or spread of religion and spirituality to around the world, and talking about peace and things like that. So even today, if you go to Japan, you will find Ashoka statues there and Buddhist temples there, talking about Buddha and background that in Japan. At the same time, you will find same thing in the United States, which is on the other west also. So east and west across the world, the influence of Buddhism came in because of Ashoka's promotion of that particular religion or spiritual practice which we talk of, and that's how he became global emperor. This is what I'm talking of to explain to you, all of you. This is the power of soft power. What is soft power? And hard power obviously is basically you go and fight and acquire land and win a war, and then that is hard power. India is known for its softer power. If I have to ask, and what people would answer, most of us would always answer this, that who is India's enemy, right? And we will easily say probably for us enemy is Pakistan, and nowadays we also have certain disputes in terms of the land with China as well. So China as well. So in Pakistan and China, to an extent, being our immediate neighbors, becomes natural enemy to us. Apart from that, do we have any other enemy? I don't think so. We can find or think of anyone else in that. And if you say, who is India's friend and who is India friendly with? So I will say, apart from these two countries, rest all India is friendly with. Right? Whether it is Saudi Arabia or Iran, both of them fighting within themselves, but we are friendly with both. Whether it is Egypt, Israel and Palestine, they all are fighting within themselves, but we are friends with all. Right? Whether it is Russia and Ukraine, for that matter, okay, we are one who talks with both of them, and even United States, for that matter. So the whole of NATO talks to India, but not talk with each other at times. So this is the softer power which India has, and Chanakya probably had displayed it or probably taught us how to go about creating a softer power across the world, and Ashoka is the best example for that. Another next example, another thing why he is known is he not only did all this, karna to hai hi, he has practically achieved a lot of things, but he also documented all of this. He wrote it down in terms of a scripture, in terms of text. So Kautilya Arthashastra and Chanakya Niti, two very well-known treatises. What I will focus upon today is Kautilya Arthashastra only. Let's not get into Chanakya Niti. Chanakya Niti is known to a lot of people and have heard of or read Chanakya Niti also. So I would say let's not touch base upon Chanakya Niti. As of now, we'll focus on Kautilya Arthashastra. How are they two different? Now, these two are different. Kautilya Arthashastra was written as a treatise, which was used as a reference book or a training book for the prince who is going to become the king. Understand? The prince who is ready, he's studied his school, he's studied his college, he's come back, and he's now going to take over, become the king. And that's when he's been given this knowledge, which is, I would say, more of the finishing school or final knowledge. The Raja Vidya is given to the to-be Raja at that point of time through Kautilya Arthashastra. The Arthashastra specifically focuses upon how to run a kingdom, what is a kingdom, what are the different departments, how to go about running the kingdom, what is war, how do you interact with your enemies, your neighboring countries, what are the economic policies you use, how is the law and order in the country, which is how do you do punishments, different things. Lot of topics it covers basically from a governance point of view, whereas Chanakya Niti is more focused and written from the point of view of how the society should be, how the father and son's relationship be, how husband and wife should behave, how should the father having two sons treat his son, how should one society interact with other society, and things like that. So basically, it is more to do with how the society behaves. So law for Praja there. So Chanakya Niti focuses on the Praja, whereas Kautilya Arthashastra focuses on the Raja, the Raja. Obviously, the focus there also is well-being of Praja in Kautilya Arthashastra, but he focuses upon what the king needs to do. So we'll focus on Kautilya Arthashastra as on right now and see what Kautilya Arthashastra is. I'm not going to spend much time on this, just quickly giving you guys an overview. We call Kautilya Arthashastra as a book of total management or leadership because it covers various different topics, starting from fundamentals of management, economics, law, foreign policy, and war. These are 5 major topics which the whole book is divided into. Apart from that, it talks of lot many more things like gemology, Ayurveda, architecture. It talks of things like passport system, contracts kaise banana hai, gold mining kaise karna hai, how to run different departments, to an extent how liquor needs to be served and how liquor needs to be also regulated. Imagine 2,300 years back, he had laws which are written on liquor regulations also. So that is what Kautilya Arthashastra talks of. Lot many topics. How many topics it talks of? In fact, I think I just missed that. Kautilya Arthashastra. In fact, the photograph which you see on your screen right here, that's the original Arthashastra, even available today. It's lying in Mysore in the Oriental Library. It's available to see. It's inside a glass box now. Kuch saal pehle you could have touched it, feel it. Felt it also, but now it's put in a glass. We want to preserve it well, so it's there available to go and see. So if anyone is from Mysore or visiting Mysore, please go to the Oriental Library and see the original Kautilya Arthashastra, which is there, known as a book of economics. Obviously, Arthashastra, economics, which is there, statecraft, which you talk of. So Rajaniti Shastra, statecraft, how to run, Rajya kaise chalana, so Rajaniti Shastra. Punishment, Dandaniti Shastra, how to give punishment, what kind of punishment, when to give punishment, that has been talked about. So it is Dandaniti Shastra. Yuddhaniti, obviously warfare, how do you go and fight wars with one kingdom and the other kingdom. And obviously Aanvikshiki, which is strategy. What is a strategy? Iske piche dimag kya hai? That is what Kautilya Arthashastra majorly talks or is known as a book. Written in Sanskrit, 6,000 sutras. Sutras are 2-line descriptions which is there. So 6,000 sutras divided into 15 books. So it's an encyclopedia in itself. 15 books having 150 chapters and 180 sections into them. So that's how Kautilya Arthashastra is, 180 sections. In fact, I do a 2-day session, which is say 1.5 hours into 2. So 3 hours session only going through this 180 sections of Kautilya Arthashastra. What all are the topics which this one book has covered and discussed? It's an ocean in itself. So I would not say it's an encyclopedia. Arthashastra is to an extent even a library, I would say, in that context. Now, going on to Kautilya Arthashastra, let's pick up some sutras, and that's what we all are here for, some powerful sutras. So what can we learn? Certain things which is important to learn from Kautilya Arthashastra. So first thing, he does salutation. So when Chanakya starts Kautilya Arthashastra, the first thing he does is salutations, or I would say namaskar to someone whom we do. We give our reverence, we give our obedience to someone. In fact, when we start writing in our culture, a lot of people also will have this habit. If you're writing on a notebook or something, you write an om, or you write draw some symbol or something, or you write a number or something, as thing which you think is auspicious, right? So when Kautilya starts writing Kautilya's Arthashastra, he does this salutation. And what is the salutation? He says, there is Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspati Bhyam. Right? Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspati Bhyam. What does this mean? Now, Indian knowledge system is all coded. We are very good at coding and decoding because we all have been brought up. Our DNA has this art of coding things. One sutra will tell you a lot of things, but you just need to decode it. You need to understand what he's trying to say in that. Other thing is, this decoding can be different for everyone, and we all are allowed to have our own perceptions, our own understanding of the sutras which are there also. Kautilya keeps that thing open. In fact, our Shastras keep that open for all. Now, coming to this salutation, which he talks of, is Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspati Bhyam. When he say Om, obviously auspicious, Namah is Namaskaram. Shukra. Who is Shukra? Shukra is basically the guru of the Danavas, the devils whom we talk of. Right? He's the teacher, the guru of the devils. And Bruhaspati, obviously the teacher of the Devtas or the gods. So demons, angels and demons both have been, and in fact not only just angels and demons, the teacher, the guru of angels and demons is giving Namaskaram to. Now interestingly, if we look at the sutra closely, what we understand is the first Namaskaram he has done to is to Shukracharya. And if you think, why would have we done that, giving Namaskaram to Shukracharya first? Are we saying that he's first giving his reverence to all the devils or the demons around, or the Rakshasas around? I would say no, not to that in that manner. What Chanakya would have meant in this case is look at the enemy first, or look at the negatives first, look at what can go wrong first. right? And then look at what can go right. So Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspati. Obviously, right is basically talking of Bruhaspati, who's talking of the righteous thing, the Devic thing, I would say, which is more dharmic in that context. But the point here is, he says, look at both. Look at the negative and the positive. In fact, look at the negative first. So what I would learn out of this is, I would say, see what can go wrong in any situation, any planning that you are doing. First, think of what all things can go wrong. Wow, am I thinking negative here? No, I'm not thinking negative. I'm talking realistic. Because Chanakya, we always say that is a realist. What is a realist? There is someone who is an idealist, right? Someone ideal. He'll say, "Dunya aisi honi chahiye. Dunya aisi kyun nahi hai? Why the life is not like this? Everything has to be like this. Everything has to be hunky dory, glory everywhere. Nice things." So there's an idealist. They live in the ideal world. They want the world to be the way they have thought of as the best possible world. Second way of looking, you'll see, is more of pessimist. सब कुछ बुरा ही है, ये भी ऐसा है, वो भी ऐसा है, ऐसा होने वाला है, वैसा होने वाला है, बम फट गया तो क्या, एटम बम आ गया तो क्या, वॉर हो गया तो क्या. Pessimists, they will think only things which will go wrong. They will look at the negative things around. They are pessimist wale. Third is optimist. They'll say, "Arey, I look at the positive side. I look at the positive side." In fact, a lot of Western books and a lot of Western theories which talk of this monitoring your thoughts and looking at only positives. Words become things. So very important that what words you think of and what words you use will make a lot of effect on you. So that positive thinking thing, The Secret is one of them. I'm sure you all have read or at least seen a video about The Secret in that context. So it talks of this. But then Chanakya is a realist. Chanakya, I would say realist. The reason being, he will say, forget all this. Okay? What is there is this. First look at negatives. Ye aisa hai. Life is like this, and you accept for the best to come out of this. Make sure that you have the best outcome coming out of it. So accepting the way things are is a realist. आज की तारीख में चीज ऐसे है. Accept it first, and then find a solution, and then move ahead out of that. So that Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspati Vyam gives us this kind of a thing. The whole risk management industry which is there is based on this. Risk management would say what can go wrong. Whether it is life, it will say life. If you are dead, then what? If your health goes wrong, then what? If your car meets an accident, then what? If there's a fire, then what? So risk management, that is all called insurance or risk management, which you talk of. What can go wrong? And you cover yourself. You ensure that risk which is there in inherent risk in that particular situation, and you try and find a coverage to you. You basically mitigate the risk, as we say. You transfer the risk out and make yourself safe. So look at the negatives first. Look what can go wrong. Think of it, pura. Usko, then be prepared for it. Right? Aisa hua to I will react like this. So think of the worst, be prepared for it, right? And hope for the best to happen is what this sutra would, at least I would say the salutations will tell us from Kautilya's point of view, which is there. Let's take up another thing. And when Kautilya Arthashastra starts, there was a video which I wanted to show, but I don't want to waste time in showing video. I shall share the link with the organizers, and you all can share this link. It's the whole Chanakya serial is available on YouTube, so let's not spend time on just seeing a video here. Now going on to what Chanakya talks of in terms of thinking, and I thought this is a very important topic which I will take today and discuss with all of you, because Chanakya talks of this science called Aanvikshiki. In fact, we have named our company also as Chanakya Aanvikshiki Private Limited. And Aanvikshiki is a science which Chanakya talks of. In fact, this is the first sutra of Kautilya Arthashastra. And the first word which comes in Arthashastra is Aanvikshiki. What is this Aanvikshiki? In fact, for people who are hearing it for the first time and finding it difficult to pronounce, I would say let's break the word and try and remember it in this context. So Anu as in what? An atom, right? The smallest particle which we are talking of, the atom. Anu, atom bomb. So Anu bomb we talk of. Anu Shakti Nagar, which is there in Mumbai, if you know of. So Anu is the smallest thing, and Ikshiki is more of curiosity. I want to know something, or something, or someone who wants to know the minutest detail. Detailed thinking is what I would say is Aanvikshiki. That is not the actual meaning, but I'm giving this out for you to remember the word Aanvikshiki, right? The CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, right? Central Bureau of Investigation. In Hindi, it is called Rashtriya Aanvikshan Bureau. Aanvikshan, right? Aanvikshan as in to inquire, right? That is what Aanvikshiki is spoken about, and it comes in from word. So, interesting word for people who are using, for who are listening to the first time. We can do a lot more. In fact, I do a 3 days program on Aanvikshiki, what it means philosophically. I want to give you a glimpse of it just to understand what Aanvikshiki means. Aanvikshiki is the science of how to think. And when I say how to think, it's very interesting, right? Because in our culture, in our education system, we have always been told what to think, right? And when I say what to think, what to think. So we are said these are the subjects, okay? These are the chapters in those subjects. This is the knowledge which is there in that. And now we will have an exam which is based on this many knowledge only. So you have to first think only this much. What is been given to you? What to think has been given to you. We all mug up those things, and engineering students, I'm sure you all are lovely at this. Last day before the exam, right? Learn all of it. Pura chaba jao andar. Next day go to the exam, vomit it out, put it in on the paper, and after the paper you are done. The knowledge is gone, right? But this is not the way the education system works. In fact, ours is more of an examination system than an education system. Obviously, the new education policy, the NEP, which we talk of, really addresses this well, and we will see that the education system is going to evolve in a very different manner going ahead. But Aanvikshiki tells us not what to think. It tells us how to think. So there's a science which Chanakya talks of is how do you go about thinking. सोचने का भी एक तरीका होता है. The Chanakya gives that a तरीका in this manner of how to think. What we say is it teaches one to think alternative solutions to a problem or a situation. Alternative solutions. You know, एक तरह का आपका सोच है. This is my mindset and this is how things should be. And Chanakya says, no, you are too rigid. You know, leave your opinion, that one-dimensional opinion, and come and look at things from a multi-dimensional point of view. What is multi-dimensional? Say, for example, a triangle, right? A triangle has 3 sides. A square or a rectangle has 4 sides. Pentagon has 5, hexagon has 6, octagon has 8. There are more and more sides. Now, the more sides you have, the more dimensions you have, right? So if I have to look at a square, I have 4 different sides from which I can look at it. Right? If I look at a cube, there are 6 different sides, 4 sides and 1 top and 1 bottom. So there are 6 different sides which a cube will help me look at. Now, multidimensional thinking has to be something like a diamond. Right? How many sides does a diamond have? Very interesting question, right? How many sides does a perfect diamond have? Right? It's called, it is 58 sides, 57 sides, and one which is called the base or the platform, which is there, which is we see it on, becomes the platform, and then there are 57 sides. The strongest carbon available, which can be cut into 57 sides. A multi-dimensional thing is the diamond. You can look at diamond from 57 different angles or 58. Take everyone's view. Take as many views as possible. You will find an answer to it. Management. When I'm saying intelligence management, today everyone has been talking about is Chat GPT. Obviously, we are talking of more of AI. Artificial intelligence driven things, but then there's so much of intelligence driven things, but then there's so much of intelligence which is coming in. There's so much of data which is getting collected, starting from what we type to what we talk to what we search to where we go, where the one in focus. Human intelligence is the superior most. Apart from that, now we also have an artificial intelligence which is there. All this intelligence, all this knowledge which is lying there, what are you going to do with that is more important than just creating this talk of data sets which we talk of. How are we going to use it? How do you manage this information to come out with a positive, progressive development? Talking a little bit from the philosophical point of view, it's not a philosophy class or an Aanvikshiki class for me to take, but then Shiki, and then we can take up question answers and probably discuss certain things as